Any other questions?
You're talking about connecting with the character. Now, how do you connect to the voice? For example,
Right.
you say you watched the anime originally,
Yeah.
and you probably get a sense of like the timbre of the voice and everything.
Yeah.
So how do you combine that?
Well, sometimes what they want is, sometimes they want you to be close to the Japanese voice. I mean, but you really can't, you can't copy the Japanese voice because they have just different inflections. They emote differently than what we do as Westerners, So for me, it's like just finding the right range, and then once you feel comfortable with the emotion and the range, that's, where I think I feel good about it.
Do you find that harder if you have, like, let's say you have to do a character from somewhere in Europe, maybe Italy?
Right, right. Well, yeah, if you have to do like a dialect, sometimes that can be difficult.
Yes.
One thing is, like there was one character I had to do, like when you go to audition, sometimes they'll have drawn characters, like, okay, these are the ones you can audition for, so find which ones you want. You can pick sometimes. There could be like 5 characters. Now usually like the big, ruffy guys, I'm not going to audition for, because I don't have the, Steve Blum voice, or, some of these other people who have really deep, heavy voices. So I'll look through the list and see, okay, I could maybe put a voice on him or that or that. There's one character I did as a pilot of Pretty Cure, and this was one of those things where I just totally took a chance. And he was a little guy, he was called the Guardian of the Prism Stones. And he was like always nervous, always irritated. And it's one of those things where there's a big fluffy creature that he can't stand, and he's cute and everything, right? But he's always causing trouble for the little guy. And I just thought, well, what voice would I put on this guy? And I wanted to do something different. I didn't want to just use a regular voice. So I just decided to, it just came to me, oh, what about like a cross between C-3PO from Star Wars and Dr. Smith from the old Lost in Space show. Because he was always sort of that way, nervous and everything. So I went in, I just totally went for it, and he would talk like, oh no, it's the Prism Stones! So, I just said, I'm going to go for it. So it was all that way, right? And I ended up getting the part. So it was like, oh, cool, I get to do this crazy character. Another one was actually Zoid's Genesis that hasn't been released yet. My character was very Zen-like, very refined, but he was a warrior, but he no longer would fight, but he would train. So I said, well, how can I do this guy? And I actually auditioned for a lot of the younger characters. Usually I get a lot of young character voices. But I was so glad I got him. And for that it was like, oh, like David Carradine, and so I steal from all these other people. David Carradine and Kung Fu. You guys know that old Kung Fu? Because he's so, calm, so I thought, oh, that's a good image for him. And then I ended up getting, that one. So sometimes I think when I'm able to kind of visualize a certain thing for that character, it tends to, that's usually a lot of times when I get the part. But there have been times where I feel like, oh, I totally blew it and I didn't capture it, and then you get the part. And sometimes you go in and you think, oh man, I nailed it, and then you don't get the part. So, you never know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, anyone else? I do have a throw-up story. It's always fun, throw-up stories, right?
Stories are always fun.
Yeah. Actually, when I was doing the Prism Stones, that character, because he's always energetic, I had gone into the studio that day, and I lived in West LA at the time, and the studio was in Burbank, so it's quite a trek to get there, especially, with traffic and everything. And my call time was like at 3 in the afternoon, so when I would leave at 5, I knew I was going to face, probably hours of traffic. And I got in the studio, and I don't think I had eaten much, which is not a good thing, but I started getting a migraine. I sometimes get anyone get migraines? Okay, they suck. Now for me, when I start getting a migraine, I have to be in complete silence, a dark, dark room. I have to put an ice pack on my head, and I will probably throw up, even if I have not eaten anything. So I'm in the studio, and I was fine the first hour, and then all of a sudden I felt it coming on, and you get these little warning signals. And I was like, oh, God, I'm doing the worst character possible for a migraine, you know? You know?
Nothing much.
So it hit me, and I was in incredible, excruciating pain. But they didn't know it. And I didn't want to say anything because I want the job, you know? And then I started feeling, I'm going to throw up. And I was like, I cannot throw up in this booth because they will never call me back. You know, these booths are very tiny, so you cannot throw up in a booth, and here's the microphone and everything. So I just kept, okay, you can do this, you can do this. And when I'd have a break, I would just breathe, try to breathe, pretend I didn't have a migraine, which is so hard to do. And I was fortunate. I was like, oh, I made it through, we finished, and they were like, great, great, great. And I said, then I ended up saying, oh yeah, I kind of got a little bit of migraine. Oh really? They were like, oh, we didn't know. I said, and then I was like, okay, I can do this, I can do this. I said, I might have to run to the restroom and throw up, we'll see. So at the end, you have to go into the thing and sign out, you know, sign your paperwork for the job. And so I'm thinking, okay, I can handle this, I can handle this. You know, and what's the worst kind of food you can smell when you have a migraine, you want to throw up? You know, they had ordered out, right? So, which of course I didn't know they had food in that booth. So I go in and it's pizza. I love pizza, but not when you're, you know. So that smell was just, I was like, signing my paperwork, oh God, oh God, oh God, you know, on the inside. And I didn't want to throw up in the studio. I just felt, you know, this would be horrible. So I ended up getting in my car and said, okay, I can make it home, I can make it home. And I'm in the worst place possible. I'm at Hollywood and Highland, right by the Kodak Theater and all the Walk of Fame, all this stuff. And there's nowhere to get off, you know, because there's all these cars, you're hemmed in, and I'm thinking, I'm going to have to open my car door and go right there. But I ended up finally getting past all these things, and I threw up behind the Sizzler off of Highland. So never go to the Sizzler off of Highland. But it was so bad that all the people in the apartment started coming out, you know, and they probably thought I was like homeless and getting sick right there. But that was my little, you can even do that when you have a migraine headache, you know. One girl passed out. Like, there's weird stuff. Like, I was recording one day and this girl came in to audition, and then all of a sudden the girl came into the office, we need a compress because the girl passed out. You know, this poor girl came in to audition for an anime role and just, you know, there's all kinds of weird stuff. I've been in one where there's like been an earthquake, you know, and you're recording and I was, oh, we're having an earthquake. So weird stuff happens. You guys have a question? Aurora, acting, anything? Someone who hasn't asked a question? Yeah.
Do you ever get like those really mean bosses like they always talk about when you're an actor?
Oh,
Have you ever had a terrible boss?
Yeah. Well, sometimes, you know, sometimes you don't even know what they're thinking. Because it's not like they say, oh, you're great, you know, great job, you know. It's like you go, you do recording, it's okay, thank you, see you next time. You know, and you don't know if you've done the right thing, or because sometimes you have to do a line over and over and over again, and you don't know, am I getting it? Because what they do is, you know, they turn off the sound, and you hear them, you see expressions on their face, and you're projecting, oh, they think I suck. Oh, they might have liked that one. Why are they laughing? You know, a lot of times it has nothing to do with you. You know, they're just talking about whatever. But mean boss is not really in the anime, but I've had some in acting where they've been like kind of tyrants, you know. You know, that's unfortunately part of the business there. That's always fun, trust me. But anyone know the process of voice acting? Of what we do? So what? Well, what we do primarily is we usually do 2 hours a day for a character. And because if you go over 2 hours, I mean, I have done like a 6 hour one time when they really want to push it and get the project out. And that's really hard on your voice, really hard. So you drink a lot of tea, a lot of throat lozenges, you know, you're just constantly, you know, drinking stuff and trying to keep it loose. And then it's weird because sometimes you feel like you can't go anymore, and then maybe the last hour you break through and you're able to go on. I don't know how that works at all. But basically we go, and then we have the script in front of us. Usually we never see the script before. And what we do is there's the microphone in front of us, there's the screen, we have the script. Now what we have to do as voice actors is we have to match the flaps, you know, with the mouth moving. called the flaps, and there's a time code that's running on the bottom, and there's a time code on the script. So you see where it begins and where it ends. But not only do you have to match the time, you have to match the lips. So if the lips are moving and you're just seeing this line for the first time, it might be, hey, hey, what are you doing? And then there might be an emotion, he's angry. But you'll see the scene before, because they'll play the Japanese first, and then you'll hear 3 beeps. It'll boop, 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 and you're the 4th beep. So you have to go right out on that. So when I was first starting, I would do like, because I was scared I was always going to miss that 4th beat, come in too soon, come in too late. So I learned, but then finally, you kind of get the rhythm of it. But at the same time, you're watching the mouth and you're watching the time code. Because you have to see if the line is, hey, hey, what are you doing? It might not be, hey, what are you doing? It might be, hey, what are you doing? Because the mouth is, you can't just say, hey, what are you doing? You have to exactly match it, which is sometimes, and they could be eating, or they could be sliding down a hill. So, hey, what are you doing? You got to match the action, you have to match the emotion, you have to, and the time. So it's like a technical part as well as a acting part. So the technical part as an actor is very important too, and that's the same for film, television, and theater. You have to know your marks and all that stuff. The weird part too is just being able to make it all. Sometimes I'm shocked how it all works. Like you can look at a long line and you're so scared, like, oh my God, I hope I have enough breath to do this line. You get it, and then, you get it on the first take, and then the next line is what? And they spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes trying to get that the right way to say what. So it's just an interesting way of doing it, I guess.